Hello, this is CleanTech Business Club from Cairo, from the 12th DII Leadership Summit. And now it's quite a special moment actually, because we are with the first person who received award from DII. As Cornelius said, they never give any awards, but today they gave this award to Paddy Padmanathan, who is the CEO of ACWA Power. And I think this is one of the companies and one of the persons who was supporting DII, not only in the great moments, but also in the difficult moment, yes?
Correct.
And this is always the proof that people like this are true human-to-human players, and then believe in our CleanTech Business Club motto, together we are stronger. Paddy, first question, do you agree with that?
Absolutely agree with the motto. We live it, and that is how we have been able to do all that we have been able to deliver. First of all, though, again, pleasure and privilege to be with you. Truly, as much as I have thoroughly enjoyed being part of many different communities, the CleanTech Business Club is the most fun club with a mission and a purpose. So thank you for setting it up, persevering with it, and wish you decades of success as the world transitions as it will.
So you wish me decades of success, but I hope that after this decade I can retire, you know, because maybe during this decade we can make the transformation of the world.
We are going to go through, in my view, a very, very tumultuous decade. Transitions are fraught with challenge, fraught with stress, fraught with lots of opportunity, and in the middle of all of that, lots of fun. So, yes, we're going to go through that decade, and I hope you will, I am sure, doing what you're doing, you will end up in the right place in order to be able to enjoy the next decade. But once we transcend this decade, that's when the value is going to be delivered. Just imagine the world where we are transitioning from a world, quite apart from the issue around climate and carbon and everything else, we are transitioning from a world where energy was in the hands of a few, energy was reasonably expensive, to a world where energy is available to a very much broader population, hopefully to everyone. And because the fuel that will be providing that energy is given to us free by His Almighty God, free, we are able to bring the cost of providing that energy to a very low number. So think of the world of the future for sure by 2050, but I really hope even by 2040, where access will be wider, costs would have come down, possibly as much as 1/3 of what it is today. Think about the multiplying impact of such a low cost energy on prosperity and economic development. It will be an exciting world. That is the world that will be enjoyable. We can work together and grow and thrive.
I hope, Paddy, that you are right, yes, because, you know, we are uniting leaders in order to drive the world in a positive direction. However, recently we have a lot of geopolitical issues, yes? And I think that 2 years ago, we were faced with COVID, yes? So it was the first time when actually people could understand what does it mean, the disruption. Because they could understand that during a very short period of time, the world can change dramatically. All the business models, financial models, even like human habits. And now we are hit again with geopolitical issues, with the war in Ukraine. And people again were hit, yes? And I believe, especially with regards to the leaders who are coming from all over the world, we are friends since 20 years. I think that despite of these geopolitical changes, I think we have even more opportunities to push CleanTech even faster. What do you think about this?
I am very convinced that human beings, we humans, perform better under stress. Okay, look, I don't want to create stress. I wouldn't want to wish stress. But the fact of the matter is, we're very good at creating stress, and we are very good then at responding to that stress. And the best example in the recent memory is in fact in the COVID period. So, I mean, let's think about what happened in COVID. Okay, it's a bit special because it just suddenly happened. We didn't know what happened, and all of a sudden people were starting to die on the street, just fall ill and die quick. So, but immediately a bunch of people went to work in different parts of the world, created vaccines, got them approved so fast, built up capacity so fast and distribution capability. And we humans trusted, in many cases anyway, that they could put it into our bodies. And we are all here to tell the tale. So look at that response. There was nobody talked about the money. It was all about let's get on with it and do it. And trillions of dollars got spent, invested and spent during this very short period. So that shows you at a moment of peak crisis what we can do.
We can do impossible.
Came out of terrible tragic war, World War II. Took us 15 years, but we rebuilt the world. I really wish we don't need to have the war to do that, but unfortunately that's what really happens. And as far as the energy transition is concerned, the current energy crisis is a huge wake-up call, and it is propelling us. But also the rapidly impacting climate change and the consequences, the more floods, the more fires, the more catastrophes will also grab our attention, and inevitably and unfortunately it's going to get worse because that trajectory is one way, will all fuel more entrepreneurship, more commitment, more action. So I'm very positive. Not just because I'm positive, but because I see the evidence from the past. And we are very involved in doing these things, and we see the opportunity. We see what can be done. And we also see that today renewable energy is not a cost. It is a profit.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's something that changed just in the last 5 years. So it's very difficult for many people to really accept it and understand it. So I'm not sort of blaming anybody, but the reality is we are able to see, and as more and more people see that, more and more people will get involved, and more people will deploy and participate and create growing green economy.
Very nice that you mentioned that things changed during the last 5 years, yes? Because I don't know if you remember, but I think in like 6 years ago, we met at NL, yes?
Yes,
together
in
with
Rome.
Francesco Starace,
I remember
exactly.
in France, yes.
And then actually we were discussing about how ACWA Power will become one of the key renewable energy players, yes?
That was just...
And then it was your dream, yes? And today this dream became reality. So Paddy, I would like to ask you, so was it difficult to persuade such a big group?
Well, what do you think? So ACWA Power is a company founded in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The first, so back in 2005. So between 2005 and 2010, we grew up in Saudi Arabia, oil capital of the world, very much embedded in keeping the oil economy moving. Now, in 2007, we started to, in the company, a group of us started to do some simple mathematics and started to add up numbers and said, look, you know what, renewables, photovoltaic energy at the time was what everybody was talking about, is very expensive. But look at how fast it is starting to come down. I think there is a point at which, and I got it wrong, I said it definitely by 2025, this would be the cheapest. Well, I got it, and I started to say that. People said, no, you're talking nonsense. It'll never be the cheapest. Okay, well, I got it wrong. It became the cheapest by 2015, so I was out by 10 years. So we started to believe in it, and we started to work, and we started to persuade. I remember going in and talking to senior leadership in the kingdom, Saudi Electric Company and companies like that, and they said, look, okay, we understand what you're saying, but really I think you're being very optimistic. Energy is, oil and gas is very cheap in this country. We need to grow our economies, so that is a priority. So sorry, please move out of the way. So it was actually in 2010 when we stepped outside the country and started to look at projects in a few other countries that we came across in Morocco and in South Africa. Amazing. tenders coming up in something called concentrated solar power. So it was not photovoltaic. It was the heat of the sun to collect it and produce steam, store the heat in molten salt, and produce steam at night to run the turbines. Photovoltaic will only work during the day. This would at least work through the day and night. It was more expensive, but Morocco and South Africa saw the value of integrating it into their systems in addition to PV. So PV for the peak loads and CFB for the base loads. And so we jumped into it, and we are pursuing the philosophy of not market pricing what we do, but rather minimizing input cost, applying a risk reflective margin, not opportunistic, not avaricious. Whatever that number is, put it out there as an offer. We were able to drive the cost down of CSP very fast on those first two projects that we did in South Africa and in Morocco. And those were our first few projects in renewable energy, and there you go.
So today, let's say, how many gigawatts?
We already have 8 gigawatts of renewable energy. We are typically developing $13-14 billion of assets, new assets every year. 90% of what we do today is renewable energy. We are still in certain countries working with gas-fired power as a kind of, I don't want to use the word bridging fuel, but yes, transition fuel. Most of it, and very soon it'll be all of it, is all renewable energy. Our expectation, so today we have a portfolio of 42 gigawatts of energy generating capacity. We expect that 42 gigawatts to be 3 times that by 2030 as a company.
Wow.
And in that 3 times, that'll be 150 gigawatts. We expect 90% to be renewables by 2030, in the next 8 years. Aggressive expansion in renewable energy. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia alone, we have a framework contract to deliver 42 gigawatts of renewable energy in the next 8 years. So, I mean, so these numbers sound shocking, a little bit unbelievable.
But not for me, because I started when the global market was 300 megawatts. Yeah?
There you go. So, yes, good point. So I think one of the issues that we need to overcome, simply because it has happened so quickly, just in the last 5 years, it has become cost competitive. Capacities are being deployed at big scale. People need to take time and understand and believe that it is doable. Yes, you can deliver renewable energy in your country, regardless of which country you are in.
Exactly.
At a much more cost competitive basis than the alternative fossil fuel based energy. That is the reality of today. It takes time for people to believe it, but I think only by doing you can believe it. There are countries that I now know, that we know, can transition to 100% within 5 years. Now, because the technology is available, the money is available, the capacity is available.
You mentioned that you were expecting that by 2025, renewables will be, cheaper than other sources. Yes, so you were 10 years wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you are mentioning that maybe transformation will happen until 2040, and I believe you are again 10 years, wrong.
I would like to be 10 years wrong, and I'm working towards making sure that I am 10 years wrong. So we are very, 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 very involved in accelerating the transition, trying to move beyond now electricity. Look, electricity is very critical, and we must not forget that. And we need to continue to double our efforts in transitioning electrical systems to renewable energy-based electrical systems, no question. And we need to make the systems more resilient by interconnecting them, so long-distance grids, short-distance grids, across lands, across oceans. So
actually, we need to speak about like a global system, yes?
Absolutely, interconnected, because that eliminates redundant capacity, increases efficiency, increases storage capacity in these grid systems, but most importantly, it connects humanity.
Exactly.
It links all of us. We become codependent on each other. We recognize then that there is no point in fighting. There is more value to be created by collaborating. So I absolutely, and it will happen. So we need to continue to do that. But there is something like 20 to 25% of the emissions coming from industry, which needs that high temperature, which needs a catalyzer like carbon. So we need to transition that to hydrogen.
Or transform,
And
maybe.
Transform it. Transition and transform. You're right, transform is the right word in the case of that. To green electrolysis produced or hydrogen produced using renewable energy. So that also is embedded with.
That's why you started also this business
So
at ACWA.
we have now gone into, in ACWA Hydrogen, we have gone into production at scale in partnership with Air Products and NEOM, a project that will produce 600 tons per day of emission-free hydrogen. That is the first one at scale. The world needs 1,000 such projects.
Exactly.
Okay, you can't just do 1,000. You got to start with one. Just like everything else, what we can see will happen is the one will become 3, will become 10, will become. So, very much looking forward to championing the growth of green hydrogen, which can then fill that 25% or solve that 25% problem as well as we go forward, and look forward to a world where, I'd love to be wrong, that well below 2050 we are able to eliminate 95+% of the emissions and keep striving towards a completely decarbonized or emission free world as fast as we can.
So how would you imagine ACWA Power, let's speak about by 2030, okay?
Yeah.
How would you imagine
So,
the company?
We are fully committed to a company that by 2030 will have at least 150 gigawatts of renewable of energy capacity, of which 90% is renewable energy. At least be dispatching or in construction of green hydrogen to deliver 2.5 million tons per year. So 10 times the one project that we have started, 10 such projects by 2030. And we expect by then, we are also in desalinated water production in order to serve the world that is getting thirsty. From 6 million cubic meters a day, which we produce today, by 2030 to be 15 million cubic meters per day. We are operating today in 13 countries. We fully expect the footprint to grow to potentially 20-25 countries. And continue to keep, but our focus will remain the same. Keep driving costs down, priority number one. Keep maximizing local content development in whichever country we work in. So in investing and in deploying
Also
all this capacity,
contributing, to the local markets.
we push to create local content. We push to spend most of that investment inside the country so that the countries can become economically generative and value creating, more employment creating. And we continue to work in partnership with the communities in which we build the power plants. Regardless of whether it's a rich country or a poor country, power plants end up getting built in the middle of nowhere. And as I say, regardless of rich or poor country, in the middle of nowhere, the people who live tend to be the most disadvantaged and the poor. So when we go and build these power plants inside their community, and we're going to be there for 25, 35, 45 years, we should not be thinking about how tall a fence can I build, how many guard dogs should I employ to protect my $1 billion asset. We should be looking to see, because we have just arrived at somebody else's house, and it's crazy. So we should be looking to see how we work with that local community, and
because together we are stronger.
Empower them and bring them up with us. And if we can do that in a conscious way, it is not even costly. It's contributory. So we're very involved in community development as much as reducing the cost of energy, and continue to grow that pie rather than focus on keep the pie the size and how big a share of the pie can I get. So it's all about shared prosperity. It's all about growth and economic development and expansion of human capacity.
I like very much when you mentioned this growing the pie, yes? So imagine when I started like 20 years ago in solar,
Yeah.
the market was 3,000 times smaller, yes?
Yes.
So if someone told me, the market in 20 years will be 3,000 times bigger. So how it's possible? Yeah, how we increase production capacity? How we will produce the silicon? Yeah.
Never underestimate human ingenuity and human capacity.
And the power of disruption, especially
And
when
the power-
all the technologies
Correct.
converge.
Correct. Absolutely.
So on the personal, let's say, level, Paddy, because you are involved in a lot of initiatives, yes, besides also ACWA Power. So how do you see the future of the world? How do you think that cooperation between the leaders, not only from CleanTech, but also from energy companies, also from utilities, and also other stakeholders, is important in order to make transformation into the positive paradigm of the world?
Look, I mean, one of the things that I have learned time and time again in everything that I have done to date in life, and ACWA Power is an excellent example, a company that we founded just 17 years ago, 3 people, now 3,900 people. There is nothing we can do by ourselves. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how much of money we have. It doesn't matter how much of energy we have. It doesn't matter how much of vision and courage we have. We cannot do anything meaningful that is contributory to the advancement of life, mankind, the world, by ourselves. So we've got to assemble teams, we have to assemble partnerships, we have to collaborate and come together to deliver anything meaningful or anything of value. That's the first part. Second part is, I think it is very much on all of us to utilize whatever skill that God has given us and that we have been able to develop over time in order to continue to do better and continue to contribute to a better world. Why? Because all of us end up leaving generations behind us. And I think if we can think of the simple idea that I should at least, if I cannot make the world better than it was when I arrived here, but at least if I can leave it behind in the same, for sure not destroyed for the future generation, we would have achieved a hell of a lot. So I think as I think forward to the future, I am very confident that the world will be a better place. I see it. I see so much. Fueled by technology, fueled by human ingenuity and passion and commitment, and the willingness of the majority and the vast majority to live a healthy and happier life and to contribute and a fulfilling life, I am confident we'll end up with that. Unfortunately, there will always be a few mad people. There will always be the disruptive element. But thank goodness, I think the good Lord who put us on earth made sure that will never expand beyond being a small group of people.
Exactly.
So I don't think we should get distracted by these political tensions. I don't think we should get distracted by, skirmishes that could turn out to be big wars. We just need to remain focused at the same mission and keep going and keep pushing for betterment of life.
And our passion will drive things into a positive direction.
Passion drives progress.
Exactly. We are at the end of the interview because already there's people coming from the meeting room, yeah?
Yes.
And the event is really amazing, I think, Paddy.
Fantastic, amazing event. Again, the power of somebody like CleanTech to galvanize, power of DII to galvanize, bring people together, to share knowledge, to collaborate, to re-energize and be re-enthused, to go forward and multiply.
Do you still remember, Paddy, what is our flagship sign?
Yes.
Thumbs up, double thumbs up for
Thank
Paddy,
you.
for ACWA Power, for our friends from DII, and for the positive change in the world.
And for the CleanTech Business Club. Thank you.